Hello, hello! Today we're going to talk about one of my favorite survival plants, cattail, and how you can eat it. What parts of the cattail can you eat? So the amazing thing about cattail is that not only can you make it into baskets, not only can you make it into shelters, sleeping pads, cordage even, you can also eat it. And there's 3 parts of the cattail that can be eaten. You can eat the root of the cattail, the young shoots of the leaves, and also the flower heads. So I'm not going to go into the flower heads. I actually don't have a lot of experience with eating those, but I have several times now gone out and harvested the root and the shoots of the cattail. Most root vegetables you want to harvest in the fall if you're trying to get the maximum amount of energy out of it. But oftentimes I'm practicing my wild edibles and my survival in the spring. And that's the best time of year to harvest the shoots because those shoots are going to be really soft and supple and fresh. Where to harvest? So cattail is an interesting plant because you've probably seen it around in the city. It oftentimes grows in those gulches alongside roads, but you actually have to be really careful about where you harvest this plant because it does tend to absorb the toxins from the landscape. So you don't want to harvest cattail for eating in the city. But if you are lucky enough to find a patch out in the wilderness where you're far away from those types of pollutants and contaminants, this is going to be a delicious wild edible meal for you, and I'm super excited for you to try it. Harvesting sustainably. Anytime I harvest wild plants, I make sure to go in with an attitude of gratitude, because you are taking the life of a living thing. It's important to be grateful for that and have a spirit of reverence as you harvest. But you also want to make sure not to take too much from any one area. Even here where I was harvesting up in Squamish, it's clear that other animals, probably the elk, were browsing on the cattail. So I never take more than 25% of what's there. But even in the case of cattail, taking a quarter of what's there would be ridiculous. If you're not in a survival situation and you're just experimenting with cooking with this, you probably don't actually need very much. How to harvest cattail. So the shoots are a bit easier to get at than the roots. You can actually just grab the whole bundle of leaves at the base and kind of jostle it in a circular motion. And then you can kind of pull it and it'll kind of pop out of the ground. And that's how you can get the shoots. So how hard it is to harvest the roots is really going to depend on how thick the ground is, the substrate that you're digging them out of. I was fairly lucky in this case, and I was able to just dig down using a digging stick in a circular motion and then my hands to kind of get down and scoop some of the ground out of the way and access the roots. The cattail roots grow in a rhizomous fashion, which means they're kind of going all underground in a network, and the cattail shoots are just popping up from different areas. So you could grab a cattail root underground and continue to follow it for a very long time. They're kind of yellowish to reddish, kind of brightly colored and spongy. And you're going to just follow that with your hands, pulling the earth away around it until you find a nice big chunk. And then you can use a knife, ideally, to cut it cleanly off. If you try to just rip it, sometimes you can just end up getting a lot of sand and dirt into the part that you want to eat. So the cattail I'm showing you in this video, I found in one of my favorite places to explore, the Squamish River Valley. And I'm cooking it in 2 different ways. The first way that I ever cooked cattail was actually on a survival trip. And we didn't have pots and pans and oil or knives even. So we just threw our cattail roots and shoots right directly into the coals. Check it out. We got a hot coal oven here, otherwise known as a cave of wonders. I'm just gonna stick the white end of the cattails in here, which leaves me a little handle, hopefully, to pull them out by. And I'm gonna shove this whole cattail root right in. And a lot of people initially think, oh, cooking in the coals, that can't be clean or sanitary. There's actually nothing that could be more clean than a bed of coals because it is so hot. There's no germs in there. It is just fire. So if you put your cattails in, you can kind of turn them gradually, leave them for a few minutes until the outside is good and black. In the case of the shoots, when you pull them out, you'll be able to just peel away the black parts and eat the inside. All right, so I just ate my first cattail shoot and I was so shocked at how good it was, because the last time I had these, I was on a survival trip and we were really hungry. We jokingly called it a starvation vacation. You're just gonna eat the part of the shoot that feels soft enough to be able to chew, because as you go up towards the leaf, it's gonna get more stringy and hard. I've peeled away enough here that you can kind of see. I'm not too worried about all the black stuff. I'm probably gonna have some of that. Yeah, then you're just gonna eat it. And it's actually really soft. And it's quite good. As for the root, the outer part of the root, the kind of spongy, orangey red part, is going to char. And you're gonna eventually actually just peel or shave that away. This is a cattail root, believe it or not. The last time I cooked them in the coals like this, I realized I had roots that were like this big. This one's small, so I've realized this is not gonna be easy to eat. But basically I'm gonna peel away that strange spongy outer that I described to you before, that's kind of an orangey red. I'm peeling that away right now. You just open it up, like create a split, and then on the inside, yeah baby, you can see it. We have this beautiful, starchy, kind of sweet material, which you can just scrape out with your teeth or a spoon or whatever you have at hand. I think this is maybe not the best method for doing if you have really skinny roots. Maybe the pan frying will work better, but I'm gonna go ahead and just like pull some of this out and try it. Hey. And you're just gonna eat the inner part, which is white. And it's really starchy, kind of like a potato, or I've compared it to tasting like a taro root because it's got a little bit of sweetness to it as well. The other method that I experimented with on this particular trip was sauteing in a pan. And then in here, we have some more cattail shoot cut up just like how you would cook leeks. And we have some dock leaf. Usually I would maybe like blanch this. And we shaved the outer kind of weird spongy orange part away from the root, and so that we just had that white inner core, and then we ripped it into these long stringy pieces, almost like how you would do if you had like pulled pork. And we're gonna take a stab at throwing this on the beautiful coal bed here and just frying it up with some oil, salt, and pepper. So that's gonna be step one, is I'm gonna stick this right on here. Yeah baby. Gonna let that do its thing. And we just threw that in the frying pan as well. It fried it all up and it turned out absolutely delicious. So while my partner were up in Squamish camping and doing this wild edible experiment, we ran into another couple who were also camping and created a little bit of a feast to share with them. And they were both a little skeptical about how these, fire-charred cattails would taste. Try it. Maybe you can tell me what you think it tastes like.
No, like asparagus.
Like asparagus. Yeah, yeah, that's actually like pretty on point. I'm gonna have one more bite. Yeah, I think Justin nailed it. It tastes like asparagus. That is definitely the closest comparison. And all I can say is everyone was pleasantly surprised, and we ate all of it, and it was very much enjoyed. So don't forget that these plants that are out there growing in the wild, they're so full of energy and nutrition because they have been fighting hard their whole life, for their little piece of real estate out there amongst all the other plants. And they're so healthy for you. And not only that, but they're absolutely delicious. It's a serious delicacy. So I encourage you to go out, explore, be respectful. And if you did enjoy the video, make sure you like and subscribe below to support the channel. And also thank you to all of my super supportive patrons on Patreon. You can support me on Patreon by going to www.patreon.com/minktracks, where I have more bushcraft and survival videos as well as nature-inspired art.